That's the worst when you have to cough during a movie. You're trying to be
I know,
quiet.
you got to wait for it.
Freaking sucks. Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Nerd Age Podcast. This is the show where we talk about everything nerdy. My name is Mick, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Josh.
What's up?
Corey.
Hello.
And Jonah.
Hey, yo.
Welcome to another episode, everybody. We're just going to jump into some, I guess, pretty nerdy stuff with Dune Part 2. We've all seen the movie, and we're going to... Do you guys want to just jump into spoilers or do some non-spoiler stuff and spoilers? How do you want to run this?
I don't think we need to go in...
Should we just talk about the credits?
Yeah.
I think we should give our rating of the movie, like just a quick, like if we liked it, and then go and jump into spoilers.
Yeah.
So we don't need to go in and be like, well, I like this and I like that. I think we all really enjoyed it. Let's just give it our score, and then we'll jump into spoilers because, spoiler alert, go watch the movie. It's great. But I'm going to give this... I'm jumping right into my score because that's what we're going to do here. I'm giving this. Sorry, I got some sand in my throat.
Just get it out, bro. You sound like the worm.
I liked the first one,
Okay.
but I felt it was a little boring and dragged on. Mm-hmm. This one was complete opposite. I thought even the parts that were more exposition, I thought went really quick. Really enjoyed this. I'm giving this a 9.3
Whoa.
score.
Wow.
Why?
We'll talk about that in spoilers.
Ooh.
Corey, what about you?
Why? Yeah. I mean, we talked about kind of before this movie came out. I expected it to be better than the first one because the first one did a lot of hard work, which was setting up the story and the politics and just kind of, especially with like some of the like visions and stuff like that. All of it was just set up for this movie. And so I knew this movie. I thought for sure it was going to be better than the first one. So, but I don't think the first one I rated above like an 8.3. Like it was lower, I think. I think it was high 7, low 8 or something like that. I think it was high 7s. Like similar to you, I think it dragged on a little bit, but whatever. This movie was way better tempo. The dialogue is really good and the visuals were really awesome. I mean, there's a lot better scenes to do in this one. That's just because of the story. But yeah, I would put this at I put it at a 9.1. It was a really good movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the only reason why it's not any higher is I didn't really feel connected on like an emotional level too much. Like I do this thing where I'm like, well, did I get any goosebumps during any of it? I didn't really. There's maybe one moment where there's kind of a little bit, but I wasn't super like enthralled, like emotionally.
You weren't tingled enough.
Wasn't tingled. But yeah, it was a technically amazing movie, like visually and story wise and acting wise. So it's really good. Yeah, highly recommend. What about you, Josh?
So I'm the opposite of you because I got tinglies all over.
Okay.
All over the whole time.
Top to bottom?
Constant tinglies.
Wow. Well, are you sure you don't have a medical condition?
Nope. That's all. That was all Dune, baby.
That was all Dune. Someone was sprinkling like sand
Maybe
on
I was in a special chair.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like the first one. I think I gave it like a 9.1 or something like that. And I think this one's better. So
Here we go.
I think it's a 9.4.
Ooh. I thought you were going to go higher. I thought you were going to give it a 10.
No.
And make Corey angry. One bite, everyone knows the rules.
Yeah, it's a 9.4. But yeah, it's really good.
Really good.
Very good.
Yeah, as this is my number one pick for my
He has to give it a 10.
top 10. You know.
Yeah, well, I thought about trying to tank my review so that I could be like, because I didn't have it on my list. So,
That's gonna come back and bite you.
That's gonna bite you.
Yep.
Next at the end of the year.
I need Planet of the Apes to be good.
Yeah, this movie was great. Like you guys said, the visuals were incredible. There's something so tangible about the ship designs, the creatures, the landscape. It just feels so lived in and real. I feel like it's a really nice change from modern sci-fi movies. I know most of them now it just feels so like almost too overly technology, where it just is like I can't like really grasp what's happening with this. It's just like a lot of it is just based in there's buildings and they're walking in gardens and they're in the desert. Like, yeah, they're giant sandworms, but like at least to me it just feels very like a well planned out society, worlds, creatures. It feels really good. But yeah, music. Come on. Can't say anymore. Goat. Hans Zimmer. Goat. And there could be two goats.
That's not how greatest means. I've got two best friends. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
What's your score? What do you give it?
I'm going to give it a 9. I'm going to give it a 9.4 also.
Okay.
I'm giving it a 9.4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got definitely tinglies like Josh. Maybe it's because we were sitting next to each other. I don't know.
That's fun. I have that effect on people.
What were you guys doing when you watched this movie?
Yeah, I think it just amped up everything from the first movie. From action, the action was really great. Everything with Austin Butler's character was super entertaining, very creepy.
Yeah.
Creepy character, and he just worked really well in the story. It did, like, I will admit both this and the first movie, some of it was like that really weird sci-fi, which I'm not overly fond of, but it just, for some reason, it just works with the story. And so I just kind of buy into it and I just go with it. So it really didn't bother me at all, but it definitely was like, okay, I can recognize some kind of weirder sci-fi stuff here. But yeah,
nice.
Great movie.
So we're all in the 9s.
That gives us like a 9.2, like average.
Yeah, it's
really good.
Pretty good. So if you haven't watched it, you should probably go watch it. It's worth the experience. If you can watch it in IMAX, the sound design, the picture, everything about it, the experience is so good on the big screen. So it's definitely one you want to watch in theaters if you can. So I'd suggest you go do that. Nerd Age recommended, obviously.
Sure.
But now we're going into spoilers. I don't know what button that is for the spoiler button, so don't even try it. I don't think you should try it. Got it.
Wow.
So we are going full spoilers for Dune Part 2. So I don't think we need to go over like, it's visually great, sound looks great, it sounds great.
What if I want to do that?
Because we're all gonna like if someone says it, if someone brings it up, like just go off of what they said, like have a conversation instead of like me talking and saying something and then Corey being like, oh yeah, they're saying the same thing basically, So
I think
let's
we should
go
vote on
into spoilers.
Hey, don't tell me how to do my job. Okay.
First thing,
Well, you're getting paid?
yeah, this isn't a job, this is a hobby. I'll tell you how to do your hobby.
That's how it works.
The one thing, my biggest complaint, if you've listened to the podcast at all, you know that I'm not a big Timothy Chalamet fan.
He's a
Timothée. Okay.
Timothy.
Timothée. Get it right.
Towards the beginning of this movie, I was kind of like, oh, he's doing the same thing. I wasn't really buying it. But at the end of the movie, when he becomes like, takes that step to becoming the dude, he nailed it. Part of it is, I think, the sound design, because they do some really cool stuff with his voice. When he tells that one lady, he's like, silence, and they do that whole thing.
The voice.
Like, that was cool. But I think this is probably my favorite movie that he's done. As
Better than Wonka?
Chalamet hater. That's high praise. So what do you guys think of his performance, and I guess performances in general? I thought the whole cast was pretty good. Zendaya, I was like, she was kind of one note to me. I thought maybe she could have done better. And my biggest gripe is Christopher Walken. I thought he was so on the nose, Christopher Walken, that it pulled me out of the movie. If they would have cast someone else, this might have been a 10 movie.
Wow. Yeah. To me, I think the opposite with Christopher Walken, actually. I feel, if anything, he was just underused. I was expecting more from, maybe not from him as an actor, but as the character. I just feel like he wasn't there enough. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not bothered by it.
It didn't bother you when he's like, Paul Atreides.
Yeah, I don't know.
Every time he would do something and get to do with the lines, it was like, he needs more cowbell. It just, to me, it was like, every time he talked, I would be like, that's Christopher Walken. That's not the Emperor.
I think I think he's suffering from the fact that he just has been in so much that you just automatically correlate and identify him as Christopher Walken. And I agree, but I don't think it's as an extreme case as you might be thinking, because I don't know. I saw his face and I was like, they need to do something with his face. Because like he just looked normal, like he was just him. So I wish he had like a sick scar or like a mask or something. I don't know,
or a helmet or something.
Yeah, like a
he had that old,
something, bro.
Like a bicycle helmet.
Like for instance, the guy from Andor has a huge fat suit. You know what I mean? Like he's way different.
Yeah.
But for
a tumor on his neck.
For me, actually, with voices, that guy actually got me more because he had some of the same kind of delivery in the Andor movie. For me, and I thought that was interesting because I was like, oh well, I mean, it took me out a little bit with him. But yeah, I mean, with Christopher Walken, of course, there's some degree of like, I don't know. Yeah, you got to somehow disassociate. I don't know how. It's tough. Costuming, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
it's just tough.
I think voice wise, it was maybe there were a couple lines that I was like, it sounds like Christopher Walken.
Yeah,
he didn't have a lot of lines.
He didn't have a lot. Yeah,
I got over it pretty quick, but yeah, it was one of those things. I think Zendaya. I think Chani was probably the weakest character for me.
Chani,
and I think it's just because some of the things they do with their character are departures from what happens in the book. But it did feel her best scene is when they're on the dunes and they're talking, also because of the music.
The music makes that scene.
But I think her interaction with Paul, like you actually feel like love between them.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time she just plays their typical like, I'm here to free my people. She plays a pretty one note, like kind of borderline angry character.
Yeah.
And I think I was kind of bored with it, I think. But I think for me, the standout for me is still Javier Bardem.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's awesome. Like when his line where he's like, well, it's the subtitle, but he's like, he's so humble. he says he's not the Lisan al Gaib, which just means he is the Lisan al Gaib. It's like he had some really good like funny moments that weren't like it's my type of comedy, like in a movie like that. It's not a one-liner. It's not a dumb joke.
It's not Marvel humor.
It's like
I was telling. Okay.
Oh, go ahead. No, yeah.
I was say I told Bria, I was like, isn't it so sad that character felt really funny and it fit really well, and that we're not used to that treatment of a joke fitting the character versus a joke being on a whiteboard and say, oh, who's going to say this one-liner?
Yeah.
No, it was for the character.
Yeah.
It was perfect. This is how it's supposed to be done. Everyone was laughing in the movie theater.
Yeah.
And it was a situation where I was like, this is really funny.
Yeah.
Like I was laughing at it. And if I'm laughing at it, I'm just going to say it was well delivered.
Funny.
It was well delivered. I'm just going to say,
hey, we know funny.
I think we do.
TNT
just
knows
like
drama.
TNT. Oh, wait.
We know funny.
That's right.
Nerd Age Podcast, we know funny.
We know funny. That's the tagline.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We know nerdy, actually, should probably be it.
We know a lot of things.
Yeah, we do. But yeah, you're 100%. Yeah, I think he was my favorite too, man.
Yeah.
So good.
I mean,
so good.
even Josh Brolin, I thought was good too. He had some emotional lines too that were delivered. Austin Butler, Mick mentioned Austin Butler. I thought he was really good. One of my favorite scenes was the gladiator scene. I loved how that planet looked. How it was filmed like with an infrared camera.
Sick,
that was really cool. Gave it a really cool aesthetic. How creepy they are, but even that whole aspect was just really cool. So
I love when he kissed his uncle. That was cool.
Yo, he said that wasn't written. He just did it.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
To be creepy.
he did that.
How are we gonna make this creepier? I'm just gonna kiss my own
I
uncle.
think he nailed it.
Yeah, he did. That made
and
everyone
when he put
uncomfortable.
the knife on his tongue, that
Yeah.
was also
Yeah.
ad-libbed. Mm-hmm. And when he actually murdered that person there
It
too.
just felt right.
Yeah, and he's like, "How can I make this more creepy?
Do it for
I'm
real.
gonna kill her."
Yeah.
Hopefully, he doesn't get charged because it was worth it.
Yeah.
I
He
have
sounded like Elvis, though. I just did.
no.
I'm not kidding.
my knife chippinchero.
That's
My
Elvis.
knife chippinchero. That is.
They actually
That's
did a really
Elvis.
good job of making him sound like Skarsgård.
Yeah,
Like there was,
it was
I don't
good.
know what they did. If it was just
No, it was him.
or
There was an interview where he's like, I've got this really great like dialect coach. And I was like, I'm just going to do this. And he's like, and I didn't tell him. Mm-hmm. And so when I delivered the lines and he was like, you sound like me. He's like, and he liked it.
Yeah.
He's like, I just decided to do it. No one told him to do it. He's like, but we should sound alike. So that was
I think it was cool. It worked with the character.
the other character that I think there's so many good performances. The one that doesn't, that I just feel like
Say it. Say it.
Batista, Dave Batista.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
What he thinks is acting is just yelling.
Yeah.
And so
it's like how people think Louder's funny.
yeah.
It's Louder's good acting.
Yeah.
Like,
See, and
same strategy.
like Corey said, we know funny. Louder is not. We know acting. Being,
Like Corey said,
we know everything.
being
you said
loud,
that, but
being
okay.
loud doesn't mean a good actor. And I just
Right.
feel like he did that a lot in this. Everything
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
"Ah," and like running off and being like,
yeah.
close up to my face, please, right here.
Are you talking to the cameraman?
Yeah.
What's going on?
We have a camera guy now.
Yeah, he's that way in the first one too, and I didn't like him in the first one. And I understand the character's supposed to be angry, but he literally, that's all that
So was
character
Austin
is.
Butler.
Right.
He's angry. Like
And
they're. It feels like that whole group of people are sadistic, gross, angry,
Right.
and he's like, oh, how am I going to play this?
Just
Okay,
yell. Yeah.
But he's that way with Drax too. Like he's loud and it feels like that's what he
Thinks is acting.
thinks is like
Yeah,
this character.
I
needs.
think I never thought I'd say this, but in his defense, I think the only thing that it makes it somewhat work with that character is the fact that he's not tough. Like he's just kind of a pushover. He's getting, stepped up by his, is it his cousin or his brother?
It's his brother. It reminded me of mine and Jonah's relationship, Like Jonah's like, whoa, really loud and stuff. And I like come in and I'm like, hey, kiss my boots,
Yeah,
bro.
you're a sadistic freak.
Yeah.
You're just an absolute serial
dude.
killer.
Hey, man, I get the job done.
And we'll
You know
just
what
stop
I'm
the comparisons there. But yeah,
I remember when you kissed our own uncle. That was kind of
Yeah.
awkward.
Yeah.
saying? It needed to be done.
Did he kiss you back?
It was just improvised. It wasn't even supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. Go
ahead,
for it.
Jonah.
No.
I don't know how to continue. From
Welcome
that.
to the Kiss Your Uncle podcast.
At Nerd we know.
Please don't.
No, we don't know anything about that.
No, we don't know anything about that.
Not experts about that, but we know funny.
We're gonna have to cut all this. Yeah. I would say when I think of a bad casting, I think with Christopher Walken, for me, it's just immediately Bautista. I know you said it too, but it just him in the first one didn't work. Him in this one didn't work.
Yeah.
It just I don't understand why Hollywood keeps casting him. I'm sure he's a great guy. Good job, but I don't get it.
Yeah,
It just doesn't work for me.
I agree.
Sure. Yeah.
I do want to bring up the goat in the room. We talked about Hans Zimmer score. Now,
We know goats at Nerd Age.
we do. We know who goats are. I wanted to bring this up because we've had this conversation between John Williams and Hans Zimmer. If you go with Hans Zimmer or John Williams, I don't think there's a wrong answer. But I was thinking about this after leaving the theater. There's the theme basically of, I guess, Zendaya's character and Chalamet's character, like, is the emotional theme of the movie, and it's absolutely amazing. And as I was leaving, I was like, the scene where they're on the dunes and they kiss for the first time, and then towards the end of the movie, the track that's called Kiss the Ring, and there's that, it comes back and it has this big old build up, made me emotional, which is strange because the first movie really didn't do that for me. And all of a sudden, because the song is done so well, it created this reaction in me to be like, man, this is like an amazing scene. Like, I felt I was kissing Timothée Chalamet. Like, that's how good the song was, guys. I was on that dune.
And that was good for you, huh?
You know? But the crazy thing is, I was thinking about it. Like, I felt like I got stabbed twice, you know, and I've got the girl of my dreams back there, and I'm taking another woman's hand in marriage because that's what I have to do. I feel like I'm sitting on a space station and some hours have passed, and now I'm watching home videos of my kids growing up, right? My grandfather, my father has died. I find out my son.
That's Interstellar.
I found out my son had a kid, and he buried him in the back next to grandpa. Don't let me go, Murph. Don't let me leave.
Do you feel
I feel like I am...
Do you feel like a panda doing kung fu?
No, not that. But I do feel like I'm a husband to a murdered wife. I'm a father to a murdered son, and I will have my revenge in this life or the next. Gladiator, are you kidding me? I feel like I am sitting on a ledge in a hotel room. My wife's across. Her mind's gone. She thinks she's not living in reality. She's going to kill herself to prove. And she set me up for her murder. And she jumps. And I see my wife commit suicide in front of me. I feel like I am a freaking lion cub that blames himself for the murder of his father, runs away, and then as he grows up, in the stars, my dad appears and says, "You have to return."
Yeah, but no. Okay.
I feel like I'm a man of steel. See, the thing that Hans Zimmer does is he makes me feel
Like a
emotion. When I listen to the Indiana Jones theme, I'm like,
You
"Oh,
don't
that's fine."
feel emotion in the Indiana Jones theme?
I've never shed a tear. Dun, 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 dun. Or when the Superman theme comes on.
The Superman theme? The John Williams Superman theme. You don't feel like you can fly?
No. Never have.
Okay.
But the
It's
Man of
inspiring,
Steel,
bro.
the Man of Steel theme.
That
now
makes you want to fly?
Dun,
There's a track called Flight.
dun, dun. It's so
Doesn't make you
good.
fly.
Yeah, not you flying.
Hans Zimmer gets my emotions. John Williams has some emotional songs, but most of it's like, that's a good melody. Hans Zimmer
Great
takes the
melody.
cake with emotion. He infuses emotion into his music that just hits me on another level. That's why he's my GOAT. I just want to say that. We can move on.
You've said it. I think you've said it all. I will say I'd love this score. Like
I forgot driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah.
I feel like
You feel
an old lady.
Listen, man, you can't just pick and choose some of these. You know what I mean? It's very easy for you to just forget all of John Williams.
I'm not forgetting. I'm just saying it's not hit emotionally on.
Oh, well, you're just don't know what you're talking about. This did make me feel like Hans Zimmer is GOAT adjacent. You know what I'm saying? There's levels to this. There's the GOAT, and then there's like GOAT adjacent.
Big GOAT,
He's
little
pretty
goat.
close. He's pretty close. And
Big G,
the
little
score is
G.
great. But yeah. Anyway, we don't need to rehash this.
Please don't.
It's part of the Dune Part 2 discussion. I just needed to bring it up because that's what I
Is it?
thought.
I don't know.
Yeah,
about
because
that.
that's what I thought when
They
I left the
didn't both
theater.
write music for this movie.
That's
though.
true.
Yeah, but Hans Zimmer did.
Great. So talk about him.
I just did.
Yeah, no, not again.
Do you
not
want me to
again.
go into
No,
another movie?
No.
Okay.
Talk about him.
I think it is kind of a fair comparison, though, with specifically with Dune, since John Williams did do Star Wars. They're very similar, like giant sci-fi movies, franchises. They both have completely different takes on what sci-fi music should be. I agree with Jonah. I think they're both like the best at what they do specifically. I just prefer Hans Zimmer over John Williams, but they have their own style and they do it amazingly.
I think Hans Zimmer was on Spice when he composed this stuff. John Williams was, clean.
You tanked it. You tanked the podcast, bro. That's over.
It's just part of the movie. What else? What do you guys think of? For me, the least likable characters are I'll forget their names, but what are those ladies
Mothers?
called?
The Night Sisters.
The
Mother?
Yeah, what are they called though?
The Bene Gesserit.
Yeah, the Bene Gesserit. I hate those
they're
ladies.
called something
They're the
else.
worst. Moral of the story: crazy witch ladies, no good.
I liked it though when Paul was like, silence, or shut up, or whatever, and you could see just the kind of shock and terror on her face. That was rewarding.
Yeah, I think you kind of talked about it a little bit before with Paul's transformation. Essentially, I like how he progresses because the whole point of it is that him becoming the Kwisatz Haderach is a bad thing, right? Like he's trying to avoid it because he's like, I'm literally going to kill billions and billions of people.
Is that like when he's talking about like, I don't want to go south? Like I know what that leads to.
Because
vision.
Because his vision is like, I know that when I go south, there's literally going to be bodies like
in his wake.
Because he's going to wage war essentially.
Right.
So it's like I like that build up and that change in character where he's like kind of like I don't want to do it, and then when it does happen, it's almost like bittersweet.
Right.
With him being like one of my favorite moments is when they're like, well, the houses don't recognize your ascent. What did you order? And he's like, take him to paradise.
Yeah.
And then they're like loading up on the ships to basically essentially die. Take him to paradise is the nice way of saying like, yeah, we're going to send you guys off to war and most of you are probably going to die. But I do feel that weight of his decision, and in that moment, him basically becoming, because he's basically going based off of what the book is. They think of him as an abomination, and she kind of says it.
She said that.
She says
She literally said
abomination.
abomination.
I kind of wish they leaned in more to it to just be like, hey, this is a big deal that he's, for one, he can see the future, and then he has all the knowledge of all the sisters before
mothers.
him, and then he's like insanely smart. So it's like a combination of three things that are in the world of Dune combined into one person, basically, which is like that's considered an abomination essentially. So I wish they kind of leaned into it a little more, because I don't know if that comes across aside from her just being like, oh, abomination. But yeah.
For me, it came across that way. Like the real, like they harp so much on the fact that he's gonna die if he drinks this. He's gonna die, and the fact that Zendaya was like, "What'd you do to him?" and all this stuff, and then also him having that conversation where it's like, I saw all these futures, it gave me kind of like Doctor Strange vibes. Not gonna lie, where it's like, and in one future it worked. Like,
yeah,
there's one way. I like this one a lot better. but yeah, I mean, I think they harped on it.
Okay.
Like I at least, and I haven't read the book. I felt the gravity of her screaming that. She did a really good job, by the way. That was sick. Abomination. And they're like, yeah, that's right, boy. I'm an abomination, dog. I'm wearing black now, dog. You know what that means?
So how much of his like power up to where he's at now, how much was that because of the worm,
The blue juice.
piss stuff?
Oh, that's crazy.
So
Worm piss.
it's basically like the last bit of it is that he like, just like Jessica has all the knowledge or whatever. She even says it. She's like, oh, I'm getting all the memories of all the people before me. So it's kind of like the last bit of it, because he already has, he can already. He's a precognition. And he's already super smart. So it's just that last bit of it is like the final, I guess, box to check off.
Is that pretty accurate to what happens in the book too?
Yeah, it is. they stay pretty faithful overall as far as like main plot. There's a couple subplots that get taken out. But yeah, for the most part, that's exactly what happens in the book.
Cool.
I heard that they don't really explain how they would get on top of the worms like in detail in the book, and so they had to like invent that themselves. So I thought that was cool because
How do they get off? Do they stop the worms or do they just jump off?
I think they just jump
They
off.
just bail
yeah.
out.
I think they bail, even though that thing's going like 100 miles an hour. I don't know. I don't know. That we talked about that in the movie. Yeah,
because when they're getting everyone on there and they got like the tents on the worms, I was like,
got geriatric, just old
how do they
people.
get off the worms? They just stop them.
Yeah.
Tuck and roll, baby.
Yeah, that scene was really awesome. Him riding the
that's
worm.
cool.
I got chills, and I was kind of bummed that they revealed it in the trailer. That was one of those where I was like, I didn't really need to see that. But even seeing some of the images, it was still worth it. Seeing it in theaters. A really cool moment.
Yeah, I remember seeing that trailer, and I think it was Will, a friend of the show, Will. I leaned over and I was like, this feels like it's an important part of the story. And then just showed it in the trailer. Am I right? And he's like, yeah. I hate it when they do that.
You got to give the people what they want.
No.
You got to give them the money
No.
shot.
It worked perfectly with Spider-Man, No Way Home.
Riding a worm isn't.
It's as epic as
Guys,
Tobey
come
Maguire
on.
and Andrew Garfield coming back.
We all
Riding
knew he
worms.
was going to ride a worm.
Right.
And we all
Even
knew,
guys that have never read the book.
we all knew
Yep.
Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire were coming back.
Did we though? I'm pretty sure we had podcasts where we were debating whether or not they were going to come back.
We all agreed.
Yeah, it was unanimous.
Unanimously.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So the gladiator scene, I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Because for me, the whole point of that scene on the other planet, showing him fighting in that like gladiator scene, was to point out how amazingly strong and powerful he is, right? And for me, I felt it kind of got cut a little short as far as like potentially could have been way more menacing, because they put him up against like two guys who were drugged up and one old guy that was really like pretty good. And I was like, for me, it didn't show that he was so skilled. If anything, it felt kind of weird. Like I was like, okay, like why didn't they put him up against really skilled people? Like, right? Like I don't know. For me, that felt weird.
That's a good point.
Like,
Yeah,
why
I
were
think-
both of them drugged and one dude is an old dude? Like, that doesn't show how strong you are at all.
Yeah, I think if they would have had the guy playing the Atreides dude, the guy from House Atreides, if he was, I guess, seemed more competent. Because, yeah, it was kind of like he seemed like he fought well, but it was just, it did seem kind of like that. It needed to be more like, oh, he's bad. He's good at what he does.
For me, it would have been like, oh, some guy that we saw be really awesome in the first movie. Oh, he survived. Oh, dang, he was bad A. Oh, he got destroyed by this guy. That's crazy. Because we've seen, here's evidence of how bad A he is. This guy's even better, kind of thing. So that was kind of like, I looked at that scene and yeah, you can be wowed by the spectacle of it because it was very cool looking. But for me, I was kind of like, well, what was the point? And I understand the point, but it didn't land as well for me. That's one of like the two things that really I can criticize the movie off of, honestly. But yeah, that was a scene that I just wasn't super sold on, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Or to do it like the burly brawl from Matrix 2. Just thousands
Just
of
thousands of
people.
dudes, yeah. And he's got a stick and he's just...
That dude's amazing.
Oh, one more thing I wanted to talk about, okay? And maybe this is just because we don't have time to talk about it, or maybe we can't delve into it because it's a movie, and maybe the book talks about this specifically. But I wondered, because I'm going to nitpick a little bit here. I wonder how these guys have like laser guns that are like ultra advanced, but we don't see the opposite guys using these ultra advanced weapons. Because I told Bree brought this up and she was like, where did these guys who are living in caves and have no technology, how do they get these laser guns that are amazing overpowered? And I was like, oh, they probably stole them from the other guys. but we don't actually see them use them. So I'm like, that was weird for me because I do agree that was kind of like they're living in caves and like they've got some technology with the thumpers and the the water suction stuff, but you don't see evidence of them being highly technologically advanced.
Yeah, it's more so, hey, I'm going to lay in the sand and put this little tube up.
Right. We've got little cool looking like carbon fiber tube, tubes. I don't know. Do they talk about it in the movies at all? Probably, or the book?
I mean, it's just the fact that it's not that they're necessarily like, oh, these guys are cavemen. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just they choose to live in the desert. They still have technology.
Yeah, but I don't see it in the movie like a lot.
In the movie, so I guess you don't really see the Harkonnens use laser guns. In the first one you do, because when they attack House Atreides, they're blowing up their ships with them. But I don't think in the second one you see them have the same, you know what I mean? Like in the second one, you're just seeing like the Fremen.
They had the laser guns in the first one? Oh, okay.
Because I think they
just decided not to use them.
Sorry, the other guys though.
Because when they attack House Atreides, they're blowing up their ships with them.
With the laser guns?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's just one of those things that it's like, for whatever reason, we didn't see them using.
But I'm just kind of surprised. For it being a sci-fi movie, the lack of like science, I guess, on their side is kind of interesting.
And my favorite thing is those darn shields that only protect from fast moving things.
Well, and they had like
I'm like, can't you make a shield?
Well, remember
how do lasers get through?
They had a visualization of it in the first movie, and then they kind of just got rid of it in the second movie, where they're like, it's just.
Well, because in the there's that one scene where they're trying to shoot the thing, and she shoots the rocket, and it's going too fast, so it doesn't go through the shield or something.
Oh, they did have one visualization.
It goes through. I was like, man, those shields. What's the point of those stupid shields?
Wiggle. You just got to wiggle past it.
You just got to get a little slower.
I think in the book, if I'm not mistaken, the laser guns, they can't use laser guns all the time because when it interacts with a shield, it like blows everything up. So there's some type of rule between laser guns and the shields that they use. So there's an in-world explanation
blows everything up. Don't they want to blow everything up?
I know, but like they would like destroy everybody basically. Like they'd kill themselves, kind of a thing. There's some type of interaction that they explain.
Okay,
that they explain that away. Obviously, they don't bring it up in the movie, and I can't remember exactly what the explanation is.
Rule is,
but there is some rule of like, because then you're like, well, why don't we just use lasers on everything?
They just cut through everything. Like it was so easy. I was just like, why are they losing? They should just destroy. And why don't the enemies just use that to destroy these guys? Like I don't know. Those are the only two things as far as plot and kind of like payoffs and like what was going on there. Those are the only two things that kind of bugged me, honestly. Yeah. And the only thing else I could critique is just my lack of investment in the main characters, just because I can't really identify with them very well. And so I wasn't feeling a lot of emotion when you guys were on top of the hill. When they kissed, you guys are like, oh my gosh, amazing payoff. Nothing. I felt like Zendaya's character, she played like a certain style of just kind of brutish and just like,
one note.
I'm here. Yeah, one note. I didn't feel like she had this intense love for him. You know what I mean? And like I didn't feel that come across. It felt very thrown, like kind of just plain and not super heartfelt. That love story, I guess, for me. And I think it partially because every time I see her do this certain face, I just see her in Spider-Man. So I don't know. Maybe it's some of the facial expressions I just don't buy into, but maybe I'm the man out. I feel like I am, but
no, I agree with that.
I think kind of my feeling.
I think we all kind of agree with that a little bit. I think she's the weaker of the
main characters.
Of the main characters, because like Josh said,
and I don't know,
there's that aspect where she just plays it off. I think the reason I didn't like that end moment where she's kind of like shocked or surprised by him taking the other lady's hand in marriage, right?
The princess.
The other lady.
The other lady. The reason it was a little undercut because of her reaction to Paul leading up to that.
Yes, I
like she
agree.
was like angry at him. You know,
Yeah.
she slaps him. Like she's like, "What is he doing?"
Yeah.
So they're already at odds. I feel like it should have been the opposite, where she's like, you see that she's fallen even more in love with him, and that's kind of, and then that moment should have hit, and you should have felt it more. But I just felt like she was already being really angry and distant towards him.
Yeah.
So it made it that moment be like, well, why do you really care? You're already, it feels like you've already been at odds for the
Right.
last 40 to 50 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you would have done it while they're, you know, kind of in that love phase where you feel like they really care for each other. Then when that moment hits, you're like, ooh, that's a gut punch
We
because
could really
you
see
feel
her
like her.
heartbreak. Yeah.
But the other way, it was like she was, like you said, she's playing that like, my people, I'm gonna, you know. So
Yeah.
that's probably one of the things I would change, just to have that moment hit harder, to be like, ooh, that's a gut punch. It felt more like, well, that
We were
sucks.
on the
Let me go
outs
get on my
already.
worm.
Yeah.
Boom.
Like, I don't mind a good little romantic little subplot. I'm down, but it just didn't really hit
Yeah.
for me.
I guess that's part that I didn't really understand is why he did choose the other woman. For
He
his
saw the
PO.
future.
So because he
Is that why?
I guarantee you.
His mom makes
It's Doctor
the
Strange,
idea
bro.
like earlier in the
Dude, it
movie, she
is,
says
bro.
like you have to wait for the right arrangement for marriage, right? She warned like don't get invested with her. So what I'm assuming,
kind
not
of like
seeing
a
the
tool.
books, is that it's like he's playing a game here because he
Right.
tells her like, hey, whatever happens, know that I love you. But
Yeah.
he's seeing the future. What do I need to get this? I need to have this allegiance with this house to then take on everyone else.
he needs to marry her so that he can become emperor, basically.
Okay.
He literally got the time stone.
Yeah, so that he can be like,
literally did.
he's like, okay, so this is the most strategic alliance.
He did, bro. He knows exactly the different possibilities. When he said that line, I was like, wow, it's actually a pretty similar storyline. They don't have to go back in time and defeat someone, but interesting.
maybe in the sequel.
Interesting.
Maybe there's, some guy that sees everything and he just,
Tell me he doesn't go back in time.
No,
Okay.
no time travel.
Thank goodness.
but there is a time traveler. His name's Loki.
He shows up.
But yeah, that's actually one of the changes from the book, because in the book,
Oh, really?
in the book that doesn't happen. She's not upset about it. She's kind of like, that sucks. But then it's like, she's okay with it.
Well, you said they already have, in the
Really?
book, they already have a kid together, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no way. Really?
So in the books,
Dang.
there's a 3.
How old is Paul supposed to be?
87.
Yeah.
Okay.
In
He's young. I think he's like
dust years.
15, 16 when the book starts.
so he's probably
So
like,
and
what,
then
18?
there's like a 2-year time
Yeah.
jump. So they have a kid, Leto the second, and then he ends up
Jared?
dying when they attack the place. So they
what?
lose the kid,
Dang.
Dude.
and that's kind of what leads him to be like, all right, I'm gonna.
Bro.
So I think
Get that in there.
they didn't have enough time to fit it
that
in,
is tough.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
It's
He didn't,
either
have,
the-
he
it's
didn't
e-
have time to summon the worm.
It's either it's either that or the one-liners from that guy.
yeah.
Yeah, pick one.
But yeah, I just think for the story, I don't think they wanted to mess with the time jump.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in the book, because Jessica's in the same situation with Leto, he never married her; she was his concubine.
Right. Yeah.
So what she says to Chani, she's like, "Oh, history will remember us as wives," like basically saying like we're the real wives, even though like he married her for a strategic alliance. Like she's not really his wife; it's just a ploy, basically.
Yeah.
Well, and you said the other thing is that his sister is already born, right?
Right.
She's like 3 or 4
So
years old.
that's
weird
one thing that they
too.
changed is they couldn't have adapted it. When we first watched Dune, I was like, I wonder if they're going to do this because it's going to be crazy. So when she's born, she's like a 3-year-old, but she has all the memories of she's a grown up.
Like a reincarnated person.
Yeah.
basically,
So
where has all their memories.
everyone's like, they kind of played with it a little bit with like people freaked out, but yeah, everyone's like, this is weird, dude. You're a 3-year-old and you're
Yeah.
like, I've seen things, basically.
That's weird.
She actually kills the Baron in the book.
The 3-year-old.
Really?
The 3-year-old does.
Wow.
She stabs him in the neck.
Well, that'd be hard to believe. But okay, I'm glad. I
So
understand why
that's
they
one of
didn't
those
do
things
it.
that's
I
like it's
understand.
kind of weird.
Yeah.
But she plays a big role in the third book.
Well, I saw because people were posting clips of the old
84
Dune,
movie.
the 84 movie. And yeah, they have like a 6-year-old and she's got the blue eyes and she's like, Paul is coming for you. And like he has this really crazy voice and they're all like,
Yeah, it's weird.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so they definitely. I think all the changes they made work well for the movie. I'm always interested when they adapt things from books or shows or whatever. It's always interesting to see what they cut and what works. I think everything worked. The Chani stuff, I think it's mostly for setup for the third
Really?
movie they're gonna make. But I'm curious to see how they adapt that. But yeah, in the book, she's she's fine with it. She accepts it and basically understands like, yeah, you married her for the alliance.
Yeah.
We're really like I'm really your wife kind of a thing.
Did they make their money back yet?
I think 185 million was what opening weekend.
I heard
worldwide
500 million was the cost of
I think they'll make it back easy. This movie will make a bill.
I don't think it's 500 million.
I think it is.
For the budget?
Yes. I'll check it.
Ooh, maybe that's counting both movies.
Okay. I'll check it. How much do you think it'll make at box office?
I don't think it's going to break $1 billion.
I think it will.
I think it'll get to 7 or 8.
Depends on what else is coming out.
Nothing.
Madam Web.
It's already out.
Oh.
Oh, what the heck?
We didn't watch
Yeah, I'm
that.
super wrong. 190. You're right.
Yeah, so I think worldwide they're already almost close to hitting that.
I don't think it'll hit $1 billion.
You don't think so?
problem, no.
It's good. Like everyone is. I've seen people see this movie that I would never guess would go watch it.
Yeah, but I don't think it's gonna. Besides the hardcore fans, I don't think it's gonna get a lot of repeat viewings. One of the reasons is because it's a long movie, but I think it hits a little bit on what Mick said, where it's into that weird sci-fi, and I just feel like
it needs to hit 500 million apparently to break even to its 190 budget. So internationally, yeah.
So I feel like
that's make 500 million.
The weird aspect of it, the weird sci-fi elements of it, I think might prevent people from going multiple times. For me, part of it, like,
well, you're not taking kids to it.
Yeah. So I just think it's not. Now, Oppenheimer was a long movie, and
how much did that
made? It crossed. It got really close to the $1 billion. I think it was like 980 something. And they did a re-release. Maybe it crossed it with a re-release. But I feel like the issue, what Nolan has over Denis Villeneuve is his movies have underperformed. Even though people love like Blade Runner and a lot of his other movies, the first Dune and stuff like that, they've never done Nolan numbers. So I feel like for some reason, his movies don't generate that much of a box office. So I don't think I think it'll get close, but I don't think it'll break it. I think it's going to get to like 800.
Yeah, I don't think it will either. Just because of the niche aspect.
All right,
of
Mick,
it.
what are you saying? You going to be a naysayer?
How much do you think it's going to make? Does it break a bill? It has to get over 500 mil.
The thing that makes me think it's going to cross $1 billion is the fact that I have not seen anybody say they don't like it. Like
I think, word of mouth is good.
Every review of the movie is like, we've been waiting for a movie like this. We need these type of movies. Yeah. Like people need to be making these. People need to be watching this movie. I really have not seen any negative reviews for it.
Yeah.
I think maybe the only thing it might have against it is the runtime, but even then it's like there's still movies that are 3 hours long that make
Oppenheimer.
over like Oppenheimer, a bunch of like Endgame that was like 3 hours that made over $1 billion. Like,
I would be interested to see kind of how viewer retention works as far as like younger crowds. Because we got TikTok brain going on where kids are swiping every 10 seconds and they're, I wonder if there's actually a situation where they can't watch movies longer or just don't want to watch movies longer.
There's a few things that make me
just
think
the younger crowd.
There's a few things that make me think it's not gonna make it, and they're pretty dumb. One of them is it didn't do Oppenheimer numbers, so Oppenheimer had a bigger opening weekend.
There are some movies that like somehow catch wind
they
really
get
late
legs.
and like
But there's a stupid trend going on right now. You mentioned TikTok and stuff, but there's a lot of people that are like boycotting this movie,
right?
Because they're like,
Because of the uncle kiss, right?
no, because they're like,
sand.
because they're like, it's a white savior. He's white, and they're in the desert. There's no Muslim actors in this, and people are like, well,
Only Muslim people can live in
no,
the
but
desert?
that's what people are saying.
Well, that's
people
racist.
people are like, it's not a real world. This is a planet. Like, there's no Muslims. There's nothing. And they're like, and Paul Atreides isn't like he's not a good character.
He
Like
ain't- he ain't saving
you need to watch the movie. So there's this weird like anti like boycott this movie like political side of it that I just think when you have that conversation going, that detracts. And there's going to be some people that are going to take that and be like, I'm not going to go watch that because of that.
I disagree. This is the first.
Well, there's going to be some.
Well, no,
but what
I know
percentage?
they-
Like 2%.
I think it's a niche target. People are doing that are doing that is a very small.
Well, I haven't seen that.
I haven't either,
Which
and
is interesting.
I'm saying for a movie to do good and make $1 billion, it has to be wide. People's aunts and uncles have to be like, oh, I watched the Dune 2 movie, and they're not the people that are plugged in to be like, well, I heard that they're boycotting this movie. I think it's most people are just going to be like, oh, I heard that movie was really good. I went and watched it.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard it was really good in IMAX. I went in IMAX. And I think that's a very small group of people that are boycotting. I don't think it will affect widely people that are like, oh, I'm not going to watch the Dune.
Here's the issue. The issue is you're having to spend $15 to $20 to watch a movie nowadays.
Yeah.
Economy's bad. There's a lot of people that in order for a movie to break $1 billion, it's not like it was 10 years ago where you had like basically any Marvel movie would come out and it'd break it because you got families going, repeat viewings. Like you'd have guys that would go watch it 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened in a while.
He's already seen it twice.
That's right, baby. I might go again in IMAX.
And so
it's worth it.
So that's kind of the problem. And I do think, even though, say it's a smaller number of people that are doing that, but it's out there and it's preventing people from going. There's doing this thing too where they're like, we're boycotting this for Gaza and like until there's a ceasefire. So there's stuff out there that people are doing these trends and putting on social media, and you'd be surprised how many people buy that kind of stuff. Like, what I'm saying is when $1 billion movies are harder to come by, anything that kind of knocks down your legs a little bit can prevent that. And I just think those two trends of boycotting because white savior political stuff and boycotting because of a ceasefire plus economy and the price of stuff, a 3-hour movie.
You're adding more stuff in here.
I'm
dude.
saying all those things add up to it not making $1 billion.
I would say to the opposite end of that is I would say that a lot of people are very lazy and a lot of people will say stuff, but they won't actually do that. So I think a lot of it is kind of posturing and kind of just keeping up face.
Yeah, it's just a hashtag that you need to put, and then no one's going to know if you went and watched the movie.
Correct. And I would also say that websites like Rotten Tomatoes decides whether or not someone's going to go to a movie.
Yeah.
Like the first thing people do, look at Rotten Tomatoes to see how it's rated.
Which is a scam and a sham.
Which is, by the way, they're really high. They're
It's
like
96.
97.
Yeah, 97 or
Like
something.
the highest ever, I think, on the first weekend. I think it was something like that. They did really well. So
yeah, but Morbius was a 23 and the audience score was a 72.
That's a good movie.
that happens all the time. Yeah, but I'm saying like I don't know. I think people are pretty. Also, I would say we haven't gotten a good movie in a long time.
And what you said, Mick, what's coming out?
Kung Fu Panda.
Nah.
4.
Goat.
Here's the thing with Kung Fu Panda. You're going to have kids and families go to watch that movie over going to watch Dune Part 2.
Sure.
So
When does that come out?
this
Friday.
this weekend.
That might.
The projections are saying they're going for 50,000 opening weekend.
Hey,
50
man.
million opening weekend. For a Kung Fu Panda,
You're
that's
not
pretty
taking
good.
Oh, no, I know.
You're not taking
But kids
kids to do
I
it,
know.
too. It is a
But what I'm
different,
saying is, think about me.
Yes.
Think about me. I have
I
an
don't want
option.
to.
I have an option to go and watch Dune again. Or
Okay.
I'm like, well, maybe I should take my kids to watch a movie.
Yeah,
So that means I'm gonna, instead of paying to watch Dune again, I'm gonna pay to take my kids to go. So you got people that have kids that the guy might be like, well, with this economy, I would have gone and watched it a second time, but now I'm gonna take my kids out. It becomes crazy expensive. Like just the fact, if I want to get a drink and popcorn, I'm down $40. So I just think
I think it's different.
it makes
different demographic.
it makes it harder. But I'm saying it makes
not.
it harder to break $1 billion now.
Yeah, sure.
Take your kids to Dune. What's wrong with that?
If you want the kids screaming in the theater,
I mean, I won't be there with you guys, but they'd enjoy it. You give it a high score.
Yeah.
but we'll see. We'll find out.
Yeah, we will see.
Yeah. I'll say it crosses $1 billion.
Wow.
You said it does. You
Yeah,
said
I'd
it
say
does.
it hits $1 billion.
You said no. You said close.
I think real close. Yeah, I'm thinking like 900, like just short. I think.
Yeah, I'm thinking 8.
I think it's strong. It's a strong movie, man, and a lot of people are saying nothing but good things about it. But I will say to your edge of the conversation is, a lot of people talk, and they'll say, "Oh, it's such a good movie, you should see it," and people just don't do it because they're lazy or it's too expensive. Because movies are expensive. If you want to go get popcorn costs more than the freaking ticket.
Yeah, it's going to come down to
ridiculous.
repeat viewings, and I just don't think a lot of people go to repeat 3-hour movies anymore.
We'll see.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
See who's right.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
All I know is that all of us that have it on our list for top 10 for the year are right about it.
Hey, this is crazy though. I went to Walmart because Walmart now has steelbooks. They had the Dune steelbook, the first one, and I was like, maybe I need to buy it now because I like the second one. So now if I just get the
Repeat
second
viewer, repeat buyer.
So-
yeah.
It doesn't matter if this movie doesn't break $1 billion. They got you
Yeah, they
because you're
got us.
buying the movie. Sucker.
But I ended up not buying the Dune when I bought a different one. I found the Oppenheimer
Does the Dune one
steelbook.
look cool?
The reason I didn't get it is because they're doing like a glow in the dark.
Oh.
So it was like the
That's
the
cool.
floating heads, but it was like bluish. And so I was like, I don't know if I don't know. So
Well-
that's why I also hesitated. And then I saw they had one Oppenheimer steelbook. I was like, are you kidding me? This is like $90 everywhere else. Walmart for the win, baby. That's going to do it for our Dune Part 2 discussion. Let us know what you thought in the comments, wherever you're seeing this, on our YouTube channel, on Facebook. Let us know what you thought. And then, do you think it'll cross $1 billion? Let us know. Are you siding with Corey and myself or with these Doonies?
How do you feel about being roped in with that dude? You're on that side.
Hey,
I stand by what I said.
yeah.
It's really close.
Close?
But I think that there's just a little bit. It's just a little bit smaller.
There's a
market,
little doubt there.
A little smaller market.
It wasn't about your opinion. It's about who you're citing.
Hey, I've been right in the past before
About what?
about a lot of things. I've been wrong about things, but you can't say I've never been right about stuff.
No, I never said you were.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. So siding with me sometimes pays off. And we'll find out. You want to put some money on this? You want to put $1 billion on it?
Listen, man, if we put money on it or something, I wouldn't. If I won, I wouldn't get it anyway. So I'm still waiting for
put a Lego set on
I'm
it?
still waiting for that Lego set you owe me,
What Lego set do I owe you?
bro.
Yeah, dang. Okay,
We,
all right.
we said
I
Ben
didn't get you
Affleck
the
will never be in the
battle
Batman.
packs, man, because battle packs, they stopped making them. They just started making them now.
They've had like 4 battle packs
Wow.
since then.
Dang, we got some family
Anyway, I
drama.
I forgot about that.
That's
Family
all right. So
drama.
that's why I don't bet with Jonah anymore. He's not a man of his word.
Kiss, kiss, kiss.
Kiss your
Where's
uncle.
my
Kiss
uncle?
your brother, dude.
We're going to move on to rating. No, just kidding.
Rating?
I was going to say a dumb joke, but I decided not to.
That's
Nice.
good.
And I'm going to cut this out. No, I'm not. The Bad Batch premiered
Oh.
a few weeks back. So we got 4 episodes or 5 episodes?
5, I think so.
There's
Five was-
5
was
episodes.
I want to say 6. Well, yeah, probably 5.
5 out of 15 or something like
Are they
that.
released Wednesdays?
Yeah.
Yes.
6.
No, there's 5.
5 was the most recent one.
Let's
go.
Yeah.
My memory sucks.
So we're just gonna talk about it. I don't think some of us are all caught up, others aren't. So we're just gonna kind of overall general thoughts. There'll be some spoilers, obviously. So if you're not watching The Bad Batch, get out of here, go watch it, and then
Go
listen to
watch
this
Dune
later.
2. Go watch
Yeah.
Bad Batch.
We'll
Come
be
back.
here.
Yeah.
We'll just save us.
Help Bad Batch
Save
cross
us
a
on your
billion.
phone.
Save us.
Save the podcast. Save the Nerd Age.
Save the podcast.
So, what do you guys think so far? I'm really liking the show. The music is so good. I feel like they're really hitting like the emotional aspect of the clones with Tech being gone and kind of Crosshair and all that kind of stuff and how Omega's bringing them together. I'm loving this season so far. Animation is great. But yeah, what do you guys think so far?
I think you said the music. I think the music immediately jumped out to me as it just felt way more in depth than like, nothing wrong with the Clone Wars music.
John Williams, the GOAT.
But there was just something about when Omega's walking through her basically prison that she's in right now, the background music elements were just like, what is going on here? I love this. This is really I don't know, just the atmospheric feel of it was just super cool. But yeah, I've only got to 2 episodes, but I like what they're doing with her character, with figuring out what these blood samples are for.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think we probably know where it's leading and what they're trying to set up.
Darth Jar Jar.
Cloning.
Treasure.
They're cloners.
But yeah, I think I said it with the past season is it's a fun, solid Star Wars show that you don't have to watch, but it definitely adds to this space between episode 3 and episode 4.
Yeah.
And I think is going to have a bigger impact on the sequel trilogy. So I've been having a lot of fun with it. And is this the final season?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the final Bad
Okay.
Batch season.
So yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah, I think for me, it's crazy how like the two ends of the spectrum for Bad Batch. It's like we're kind of goofy and do an adventure, and then you're like, we're super serious and are like these 2 episodes. The premiere is like kind of depressing,
Heavy.
super heavy, and just like dealing with Omega being abandoned essentially, like not because not on purpose, but she's trapped. You kind of feel the weight of her like kind of growing up, being left there, trying to escape. And then you also have the stuff with Crosshair where he's like kind of given up. I think specifically about the line where he's like, don't leave something like along the lines of like people that don't matter or people that are insignificant, like, basically referring to himself as like, lost causes is what he says. He's like
given up.
Yeah, he's given up. And a lot of the stuff, like just watching it, the aesthetic, it felt kind of like almost like an episode of Andor, to be honest. Like it kind of gave me that kind of vibe. And I know a lot of people are like, man, Andor's dealing with some crazy stuff we've never seen in Star Wars. And like, we've actually kind of seen a lot of this like heavy thematic stuff in a kid's cartoon where we're talking about like clones and, whether or not they have rights and like the ethics surrounding cloning and all that stuff. It's like in a kid's show, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I really love these episodes. The constant like ticking clock of the samples turning over, and then the constant dripping of the faucet was just like super. Just created like a crazy, really crazy ambiance for the episodes. But yeah, I'm interested to see where they take it with. Obviously the cloning stuff and the Emperor showing up and stuff like that. But yeah, I've loved those 2 episodes specifically. I've liked the other episodes too, kind of what they're doing with the other characters. I'm excited to see where it ends up.
Sorry, Corey, before I let you go.
I'm gonna let you finish.
Because we Mick brought up the Emperor stuff, and there's the samples in those first 2 episodes. They're obviously setting up somehow Palpatine returned, right? They're filling in that backstory. Where do you think? Because they keep teasing, they haven't showed us a Snoke in a vat yet, but they're obviously looking at something when they go down there, right? Where do you think they will show us, like, exactly, like, connect that dot in the Star Wars universe, right? They keep teasing it, but, like, where's the actual, like, are we going to get that in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie? Are we going to get that in something else, another series? Are we going to get it at the end of this Bad Batch series? Where do you guys put money on actually getting that shot that connects that dot to be like, hey, we're not just messing around with it, it's actually there? Do you have any thoughts, Corey?
And this is the final season for Bad Batch.
Yes.
This will be done. I don't know if we're gonna have a hard, well, yeah. I'm not sure if we even will have one. Like a hard reveal of that.
Okay.
Like clone in a vat or whatever. Maybe we do. But I feel like they're not making it about that directly. I mean, it is like that's the whole story, but like it's more about Omega being safe and it's trying to escape the Empire. So I am trying to think, because we have a lot of episodes. What did you say it was? Like,
I think there's 15.
Yeah, 15.
So it's like we have a lot of room to explore that.
The reason I ask is I just feel like, so in Mando season 3, we had the Pershing episode where he actually talks about like a strand cast and like all this kind of stuff, right? We've had the Empire looking for Grogu because he has the M count. They bring up the M count. Omega has that M count. So they keep bringing this up. Like, this is what the Emperor's doing right now. He's trying to find a way to have a clone.
Yeah.
And the logical thing is, at some point, we're going to see Snoke created. Do we see a episode of the Bad Batch or Mando or in a movie where Andy Serkis comes out and plays Snoke? Do we get
Andy
that?
Serkis in the Bad Batch?
I mean,
sick.
But it's live action Andy Serkis.
that character exists, and they need to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, do we ever get that explicit shot of like, hey, here it is, that's Snoke. We've laid the groundwork to this point. Now you've had that explained. Do you guys think that's...
So I'll say I don't think we get that direct reveal. I think that we get... I don't want to spoil things, but I bet there's some kind of situation at the end of this series being the goal that is Tartarus?
Tantus.
Tartarus. Yeah.
Tartarus.
I can't remember what it was. I think that's the end goal. And I think setting back the Empire is the ultimate goal for other people.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we see one fully, but I think we see VATS. I'm not sure if we see exactly what's in there. I don't think we see like an actual animated version of Snoke.
Is there a gold robe in the closet?
I don't think so. But there totally could.
Wear this.
But I just don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think they tease it in Bad Batch at the end of the season, but they don't. They wait for the big reveal in either the show or the movie because it gets a broader audience.
The Mando movie?
Yeah.
Because I will say they've
Dave Filoni's movie.
already revealed this. It's already in a movie. It's already revealed.
Right.
Like, that's not a secret. They're just trying to connect the dots. So do they have to directly plug into each point? Like, Snoke, right here. Look, guys, in VAT. See, same. That doesn't sound like Dave Filoni.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering because I'm like, I think some people that hate the sequels are like, no, they're connecting it. And I'm like, you kind of have to. So I'm just wondering if they're hesitant to commit to it just because they're afraid of the reaction. But I feel like you kind of have to. At some point, Snoke has to influence Ben Solo. He has to be around in the universe. So I'm just wondering, at what point do you get that? Do you do that after Dave Filoni, after Thrawn gets killed in Dave Filoni's movie? Do you have like Snoke roll out, on a Segway or something? I don't know. It's just, I'm curious. That's something that I'm curious about is like, okay, how are you going to pull this off where people are going to be like, oh, that was cool. I'm just curious. And so I just wanted to know what you guys thought of.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if anything, it feels like they've doubled down with all of the Snoke cloning Emperor stuff ever since the sequel trilogy. I mean, we got a pretty good kind of clues with the first season of Mando, stuff with the Bad Batch. It doesn't seem like they've been scared to delve into that and flesh it out. I personally just don't really care anymore. Yeah. So I'm not that interested in like, oh, I want to see these connected dots. But it's clear that they're wanting to show that. And I get that a lot of people do care about it. I'm one of the people that just doesn't really like most of the sequel trilogy movies. So for me personally, it just is like, well, I guess if you want to connect those dots and have, some kind of story to tell in there, that's fine. But yeah, I agree with Josh. I think that they'll do some type of more of a tease thing at the end of the season series, and then probably do something in the Mando movie, because it feels like that's what they're building to, is like that final point in that storyline, like should be that, because that's then leading directly into sequel stuff. Yeah. So I would agree with Josh. I think that's probably what they'll do.
Smart man.
Now you talk about that, I think you kind of convinced me that they would actually that they will do the reveal in the show. Because it's not even that huge of a deal. They already revealed it. Like what I was saying before. Like, why do it in another movie again? Like, if anything, it wouldn't really make sense because, like, I don't know. Unless everyone dies who sees it in that movie. But, like, time-wise, by the time Snoke is revealed, no one knows about it. It's a total mystery. So it's like, I don't know.
I don't know about that, because Leia says that Snoke has been manipulating Ben since he was little. So I feel like Snoke's been around. That's what I don't think they've really told the story. Like, is he part?
Well, they have to figure out how to tell it.
Snoke is weird in and of itself anyway. Because we know that the Emperor gets cloned. That's the whole point. Yeah. So who's Snoke? You know what I mean? Like, it's like another dude.
Was Snoke the babysitter? They're like, oh, Snoke, just careful with Ben, okay?
Was Snoke?
He did his bedtime 7.
Yeah.
Snoke, they haven't explained that.
Right. And this is their chance to do that, which is cool, I think.
Because I'm like, was Snoke,
Snoke, well, they made so many Snokes, right? Like a lot of them.
Right.
He wasn't just some like failed experiment. He was intentionally made.
Right. But my question is,
and he was a clone.
Right. It was supposed to be someone that he could put his essence into.
Right.
So did the Emperor put his essence into him, and he was being Snoke as the Emperor manipulating? Like, or was it just like one of the guys got out of the vat?
I don't know.
He named himself Snoke, and he went just doing random stuff.
He likes gold.
So that needs to be explained in those years. Like, what exactly was this? How was Palpatine manipulating this? So that's my whole thing. I'm like, at some point you need to start telling that story. I feel like they totally screwed up. Perfect way to do this would have been that instead of calling him Snoke, he should have been Plagueis.
Yeah.
And he was around. And the reason he had that scar on his face was because Palpatine thought he killed him, but he cheated death. And he's been watching from afar. And once Palpatine died, he came in and was like, now it's my turn. And he learned from Palpatine's mistakes. Bro, that would have connected all three. It would have been great. But now they have this whole thing. Hopefully they can kind of clean it up and have something cool happen. But it'll be interesting.
I will say in general, I like that they're addressing cloning in this way, like very like piece by piece, explaining how like M counts and all this stuff works. Because I've always thought in the past, cloning was all like super overpowered and like this crazy mechanic that no one ever did again. Like It was just such a weird.
Like, why don't they clone Jedi?
It was just a weird thing that they like threw in just because it's cool, and it's like it's cool to kind of like see. It's not intentional. After the fact, it's intentional. They want to make everything feel more cohesive as a greater overarching story.
Yeah.
So I like it.
Yeah,
like
I think
the
it's
fact that they're
good.
doing it.
Last question I'll ask you guys because we don't need to go on forever. But this being the last season, do we get any more dead clones? We've already lost Tech. There's rumors.
Oh.
Some people are saying that Tech's not really dead. I think he's dead.
Yeah.
But do you think any of these guys survive of the Bad Batch? Do we lose some more? Does Omega make it out of this season? Seeing Mando that takes place after this, none of them have shown up. So
Right.
they're either hiding or whatever.
It's big
What do you
galaxy.
guys think?
Big galaxy.
Do you guys think what are the chances? They all get out? Do we lose one?
I think we lose Crosshair.
Me too.
Okay.
I agree on that one.
I think Hunter's dying.
I think Hunter's hard to kill because
He looks like Rambo.
Exactly.
he looks like Rambo. Exactly. And
Like we got a
we
perfect
all-
actor that can play him in the
Yeah.
movie. Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Hey, Omega. Omega, I love you.
He like his like journey of like as a character I don't think is finished. And I think some characters have progressed a lot more in their story. And so typically you're going to get rid of a character who's progressed a lot as a character. So I don't know. I think Hunter has a lot more potential down the road. That's why I wouldn't get rid of him. But that also the aspect of him kind of being the dad kind of Omega has a lot of weight. And so that he'd be a perfect guy to get rid of and have a lot of effect on everyone else because he's the leader. So I get that too. But I think he has a lot of potential.
I'm going.
So don't kill him.
I'm going crazy dark. They're all dying at the
Okay.
end of the season.
I don't think they do that, but that's crazy. Yeah,
and
that's super crazy.
the re-
Except for,
the
except for
way-
Echo lives.
Echo might. I mean,
Echo dies too?
I think the
Echo
only one
won.
that survives is Rex. I think Echo.
Rex.
Oh, you think Rex is
Hunter?
going to survive, huh?
So Wrecker, he's fine.
Wrecker's gone. Wrecker
he's
dies.
dead?
Hunter dies.
Okay.
Echo dies, and Omega dies.
And Tech rises.
And
from
Tech's
the
already dead.
No, he can't.
And this is what I think. I think
Somehow
Omega's
Tech
gonna
returned.
realize that her blood is special, and that the only way to save everyone else is to not let herself get caught. Because I think there's gonna be where they all go together.
What the bro? There's think about what you're saying, dude. In a kids show,
Are you going to do a suicide pact?
you
Is that
think
what you're saying?
no, that's what I'm saying.
No,
listen to what you're
there's
saying,
a
Jonah.
sacrificial aspect of it. The same thing they did with Tech, where he's like, we follow orders, right? And he makes a
No, no, no.
sacrifice.
Quick.
I think they do the same thing, and it's a way for the Bad Batch to go out. Hunter.
You think this sounds like Dave Filoni? No
Yes.
way, bro. He wants,
does it
wants
all
to
the
hold on to
time.
his characters, bro.
No, he's
Yes, he
never
does,
held
dude.
on to clone characters.
No.
He's
I'm
okay
just
with
saying
killing clone characters.
You think these? I think
about
these
Rex?
guys
And they're
are
clones.
I think these
What about
guys
Rex?
are over. They're beyond.
That's different.
They're Rex
What about
level.
Cody?
No.
I think they're.
Hey,
I think they're Rex level. They're their own uniqueness.
I
They're their
think
own person.
I think what they've set up with them is they're unique.
There's
yes,
no way they all die.
But
There's no
I
way.
think-
that would be the worst way to do it.
I don't think so. I
You
think
know, we kids are gonna be so depressed, bro.
I don't know if
characters.
I
let's
don't
be
know if kids
honest.
care anymore.
I don't think kids
Let's
are
be
watching
honest
this
about
show.
this. I don't think a lot of kids are watching this show. I think the main people that watch Star Wars cartoons are Clone Wars fans
Yeah.
and Rebels fans, which is our age. And so
Yeah.
I think
I still think kids are watching it
yes,
because it's
but-
rated in the right way and it's
but
on Disney
there's-
Plus.
but
Kids are
they
watching.
had no problem killing Tech.
Yeah, well, you
And
didn't
I
see it, you
think
just
there's a
felt.
way to do it. You don't have to show like blood and gore, but I think you have. There was a line in the episode today. I don't want to spoil it for Mick.
Go ahead.
But Hunter says something to a character to the extent of, "We've all done bad things, but it's about being better.
It's about all dying together.
Yeah.
It's about being better." And I think if they all survive, there's an element where they would join the rebellion and do all this stuff. There's a point where clones, they're going to sacrifice because they're going to do like, we follow orders, and there's a way to do something with them where they all go heroically together, I think that is something
No way.
that is on the table.
No, because it's been a constant theme throughout this whole series that people have been teaching them how to live a different life and to re-roll basically, and how helping Omega have a new life is so important. I get what you're saying, but there's no way I would put money on this. So much money.
Oh, so much money.
So much money that all of the main cast doesn't die. Yeah, I'm going to bet on that.
Oh,
$billion.
What?
They did it in Andor. They did it in Rogue One. All the main cast
Yeah,
died.
but we already knew how that ended.
Well, we
don't know how this ends.
they're not around in any of the episode 4,
big
5, or
gaps.
6.
Yeah, but there's no previous, these guys went on a mission and they all died, but they got us the plans. Like that literally was told
Maybe
to us.
they get the plans to the second Death Star.
I'm just thinking, let's think about this.
They're
turned into
I don't want to
Vulcans.
think about what you're saying, bro.
They're
It's
after
messed up,
Omega
dude.
because of her M count. What happens in Mando? They're not after Omega anymore. They're after Grogu because of his M count. What happened to...
Maybe she became
because
Grogu.
they
Omega.
pieced out.
She gets
They
away.
left.
What does Omega mean?
Later.
End. Alpha is the beginning. Omega is the end. At some point, she has to become the end.
That means
And
she'll
die.
make it to the end.
I'm just saying.
just making one up.
I'm just saying.
smart.
Boom, roasted.
That just came to that.
She's
that,
the end game.
I
of Star
think they
Wars.
might. I wouldn't put it past Dave Filoni to make us all cry at the end of this.
Are they all named Omega?
Yo.
I wouldn't.
That's the reveal at the end. He's like, Hunter Omega, Crosshair Omega.
Now
That
you'll
means
die.
end.
I'm
Now
just
you
saying,
must
guys.
end your own
I'm
life.
just
And now we
saying.
come to the end.
I'm just saying. We'll find out, but I'm saying I wouldn't put it past
Yeah,
my boy Filoni.
yeah, I would put so much money on it, dude.
Oh, so much money. How much money are you putting up?
So much
You.
money.
Oh, I'm not putting money on this because
exactly.
I'm out there. To say everyone dies. That's rough. But
now he's
I
backtracking.
think
Yeah,
that
highly unlikely.
I
He
know-
knows it's highly unlikely.
I could see the merit to it, and it would be one of the craziest things ever.
Yeah.
If it's done well, it could be really like top notch Star Wars. Dave Filoni's done it before.
Wow, this guy's really going out on a ledge. If it's done well, it's going to be good.
I've always said I'm not a writer, but there's a way to do it where there's
always said
where
that?
Omega can realize what's at stake, understanding what she has, what the Emperor wants, and she tells her brothers, like, this is what needs to be done, and they're like, we're not leaving you, and they go down with the ship, in essence, with her. There's a way that you can do that where it was like, and the final shot is them all huddled together, and that's what I'd be crying, guys. It'd be beautiful.
Okay.
It'd be beautiful, and it'd be a sacrifice that many people in grand scheme of Star Wars, like Luke Skywalker doesn't know about the sacrifice, Ahsoka, all these characters that you think are the big characters, but they did something that was for them that changes
I love it.
Star Wars.
I love how he crafts
It'd
these
be
things
great. It'd
in
be
his
so
head.
great. And as looking from the outside in the history of Star Wars would be like, wow, that was such a huge sacrifice. No one saw it but them, and they were content
And us.
ending just them being together and joining Tech in the afterlife. I think that would be beautiful.
This is the best part about being a Star Wars fan because, like Jonas said, we're not writers. We're bad writers, but we know what good writing is. You just convinced me. That's what's gonna happen. They're all blowing themselves up at the end.
Let's go.
The realistic one is Echo because there's a base named after him.
That's right.
There you go.
Well, wait till you find out that there's a Bad Batch base in.
Bad Batch
base, baby.
Let's go to Triple B's. What does that stand for? Bad Batch base.
Baby.
All right. That's going to do it for the episode. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok. We'll be back next week. We're going to talk about Avatar. We figured we got too much to talk about this week, but next week we'll be discussing Avatar.
And some people haven't watched it yet.
And yes, I'm 2 episodes in. So we'll be doing that and talking about more things. Shogun is have you guys seen that show?
Is that the FX show?
Yeah, that seems really cool. I'm going to check that out too. So we might talk about that. Seems cool. Samurais? Let's go. Let's go.
Seems cool.
We don't know. There's so many things that are nerdy. If you're nerdy about Japanese culture, well, next week.
Okay.
Thanks so much for hanging out. We'll see you next week.
See you.
Bye.
Yeah.